Daniel Yashikayach for yesterday. Pretty impressive. Everyone's impressed. He took over and without any preparation.
Baruch Hashem. It was a gadget, so
yeah. Sometimes I got it is even harder. Okay, if we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. Plus of our learning, we should have the base of Migdash immediately. We're learning Luli Nishmas, Savagol the Basbar Binyamin, and Sanos Ben Mitzian, and for Shlema. Avram David Ben Sarah and Gedalia gets Eliezer, and she gets super. Thank you. Now, I'm gonna have to leave early. And I'm gonna, if we're up to the right spot, then I'll give it over to Dr. Stein that prepared for tomorrow. Okay, the Gemara starts like this. Hakol K'minhag Medina. The Mishnah said that there's a bunch of different ways of building a wall. You could build it 6 tvachim wall, you can do 5 tvachim, 4 tvachim, 3 tvachim. It all goes according to the custom. It says, well, if you already itemized all the customs, so then why do you say it all goes according to the custom? Hakol lasuyimai, what are you coming to include? It says lasuya yasir denehigi b'tzevedaf, and it's coming to tell me that sometimes there is a custom where they actually make a wall that's not even a stone wall, that's made out of like a wicker, palm branches woven. Like just that's a very even a wall like that would be acceptable if that would be the custom. Taisvis on the first page says, yeah, but you can't get any lower than that. That's as far as you can go. Okay. The Gemara now says, it's quoting the Mishnah. Mishnah says, therefore, because they each had to build a wall, therefore, if the wall falls down, so then the stones and the space where the wall was built on belongs to both of them. The Gemara says, Pshita, of course. What's the Gemara asking, of course? The Gemara is saying, well, we're assuming that it fell down into equal, half fell on this side, half fell on that side, half of the wall. So it's in each of their possessions, so then it belongs to both of them. It says, no, it's necessary, a case, that it fell into one person's property, and therefore I could have thought that maybe we would say that he is the muhsik. Or maybe one of them cleared it into his own property. I could have thought that maybe the other one is considered a mitzi. He's the one extracting from someone that's a muhsik on the money. You say no. We say that there is no muhsik here because they were partners in building the wall. There is no muhsik. Okay. Same thing applies to a garden. We said before that by the garden, there's even more of a hezekriya than there is by a courtyard. Why? Because the ayin hara of someone looking at at someone else's growth causes the evil eye, and so that's a type of damage. On Dalet Amud Aleph, about 10 lines from the bottom. It says that a garden is in a place where the custom is to build a wall, then they'll require the other partner to build a wall. So Zagufa Kasha, 1 second. This is self-contradictory. Now, what we mean self-contradictory is that the implications of this is going to be a contradiction to the implications of the next case. First, it says, you say that if it's in a garden, in the place where the custom is to build walls between gardens, so then we obligate him to build a wall. Hastama, but if that is not the custom to build a wall, not that it's not the custom, but if we don't have any custom in place, then we can't obligate him to build a wall. Let's go further. But if it's in a valley, which means if it's a place of grain fields, I say if it's also in a place where it's not the custom to build walls between fields, then we don't obligate him hastama. But if we don't have any set custom, then you would obligate him. So what comes out is like this: the Gina, if it's also a place where they do build a wall, he has to build. A valley, if it's a place where they don't build a wall, then he doesn't have to build. Now, what would be a Gina where we don't have a custom? where we said that he would have to build a wall if there is the custom. If he doesn't have the custom, then we'd say he doesn't have to. In the valley, we say that he doesn't have to if there's no custom. If there's a custom not to, then if there is no custom, then we would say that he would have to. It comes out that the implication of the garden, where he doesn't have to build a wall, and the implication of the valley, where he would have to build a wall, comes out to be contradictory, because it goes like this. It says, if hashta stam gina amritlai, if it's a valley, if it's a garden without any custom, you say you don't have to build a wall. Stam bika mibai. If it's a valley, then does it have to tell you that you should have to build a wall? It should be the opposite. Of course, you should. For sure, you shouldn't have to build a wall. If a garden you don't have to build a wall, then for sure you don't have to build a wall by the valley. And it turns out that it says that you do. Okay. So Amar Abaya says Hachi Kamar. B'chein stam gina makim shenagaligda b'bik mechay b'naisei. Abaya throws in two words, and he does away with the implication like this. He says that if it would be a stam gina, a gina of garden without any custom that's set in place about building walls, or if it's a place in the valley where there is the custom to build a wall, then you would have to build a wall. So you did away with one of the implications. By the garden, we said if there's a custom, originally we thought if there is a custom, then he builds a wall. If there's no custom, then if we don't have any custom, then he doesn't build a wall. That's what we thought originally. It says no. If there is a custom, for sure he builds a wall. If there's no custom, he also builds a wall. And the same would apply if by a valley, if there is a custom, he builds the wall. He builds a wall means he gets the neighbor to build together with him.
This valley, like the mountains,
the lower part. It means the lower lands that's where they have grain fields. Bika is just an area where they have grain fields. So I call it a valley because it's also used as a valley sometimes. But it just means grain fields.
See, I don't understand the last comment. It was like the way you build walls.
Yeah.
So,
but where don't you build a wall is by the grain fields where there's no custom. There you don't build a wall.
Didn't you just say even if there's no custom, you still
that by the garden you build a wall if there's no custom.
but the grain
field's not. So Abai is telling us exactly what we wanted to hear, and he's putting the words into the Mishnah. The only problem is Amalei Rava. Rava says, "Im kain my aval." You read further, it says by the garden it's one way, but by the valley, however, it's different. It says, however, by the valley. One second. There's no however. That's what you're talking about. Elama Rava says, "Achi ktani b'chein stam gina kim makim shenago ligdei dami mechay b'neisei avol stam bika kim makim shaloi nago dami bin mechay b'neisei." Rava has a totally different interpretation. He just says like this: that what the Mishnah is really telling me is what to do in a garden where there is no custom yet. What to do in a valley where there is no custom yet. So he's saying like this, that if you're in a garden and there's no custom, then we obligate him to build a wall. If you're in a valley and there's no custom, then we say that you're not obligated to build a wall. What the Mishnah is telling me is what to do when there's no custom. That's what it's saying. V'chein gina, if you don't have a custom yet, what you do is you obligate him to build a wall. Because like we said, that in the garden there's more hezekriya, there's more damage from eyesight, from more obligation to protect from damage there.
Excuse me. So when we say we're building a wall at this point, we're saying that if one built a wall, the other one owes 50%.
Yeah.
That's all we're implying now.
Okay. We're talking about in the valley where there's no custom. He doesn't have to. One person wants to build the wall. His friend doesn't have to participate. He says, "You build the wall. I'm not participating in that." So then, how do we remember that only one of them built the wall, not the other one? So what you do is you put the plaster on the outside. It's called chazis. You put this chazis on the outside that shows that one of them built. So the Gemara says, "My chazis. What is this chazis that you're talking about?" Rav Huna says, "Akfile lekarna lebar." That means you put there's something sticking out of the wall. You make it protrude in one direction. Make it protrude outward.
Props.
And they started to clear those away. That's good.
No,
Okay.
the books
Those-
that were protrudings.
So you make it protrude outward. The Gemara says, "V'navid milgav." Why don't you make it protrude inward? It says, "V'lavet chavi namri milbar." Because if you do that, then your friend on the other side can also make it go inward on his side. Maybe there's only one of them. Maybe you can put these pieces in the top that can make
Wait,
it.
inward, I thought it was, you plastered the outside.
We didn't get to the plaster yet.
Oh,
Plaster is going to be Reb Yochanan.
we didn't learn this much.
Well, we discussed it in the Mishnah,
Oh,
but we didn't go through the different opinions here. So Rav Huna says that you put like these protrusions on top of the wall. You make it face outward. Gemara says, well, why don't you put it into your side, make it face inward? It says, well, if you do it inward, then your friend can also do it inward. He'll say it's both of ours. You see, there's two. I did it and you did it. This is what you do when we both build it together. You have two of them. So 1 second. But if you put it on the outward, his friend can cut it right off. You put it outward means into the friend's property. He'll cut it off. This Gezuzah made the idea. You could see when it's cut off. You won't be able to do that without getting with and get away with it. There's some that said a little different. You bend it towards inside. You bend it inward, which is exactly the opposite of what we're saying. Gemara says, why don't you bend it outward? It says, well, guys, we're afraid your friend's going to cut it off. And say that it's both of ours. But if that's the case, then maybe his friend's going to also attach one on his side and say that it's his. If you bend it inward, he'll attach one on his side and bend it and say that it's his. Says Lifufa made the idea. You could see if it's attached. But the Gemara says, 1 second, this whole interpretation doesn't fit because the Mishnah uses the word that you put the chazis on the outside. It says, yeah, kasha, that's a problem. So the interpretation doesn't make it all the way to the end. Rabbi Yochanan says, Nishaye ba'amsa milbar. You put plaster up on the upper cubit of the wall on the outside. Gemara says, "V'navid milgav." Why don't you put it on the inside, on your side of the fence, the one that built it? It says, "Avid chavir milbar." Then his friend could put it on the outside, which means on his side, his inside. And say that it's both of ours. So that's what you do if you both built it together. But now, if you put it on his side of the fence, then your friend maybe is going to come with the scraper and scrape it off. It says, well, kilu for me, you can see if it's scraped off. Now the Gemara says, Hutzer, remember we said that there's different types of walls. And we said it all goes according to custom. So what's it coming to include if it goes according to custom? It's coming to include if it's made out of like a wicker basket type material, that you can also make a wall like that if that's the custom. How do you make the chazis? If one of them built this wall and not the other one, how do you show that on the wall? Rav Nachman says, Sinufe Yerechem Malbar. You have the pieces that are sticking out of this woven palm branch basket. There's a picture there. Yeah, you have it bent towards the outside. Gemara asks the same thing we've been asking the whole time. But Evid Malgaf, why don't you bend it towards your side, the inside? Well, your friend is going to do the same thing to the outside, and then he's going to split it. But maybe if you put it on the outside, he's going to trim it and cut it off and throw it away. It says both of ours. It says Mashak Leitina, we put on it like a tar or something. You can't do that. So your friend's gonna scrape it off. You can see if it's scraped off. Abaya says it's less like the kantel of B'shtara. He says sometimes you just have to rely on a contract. Sometimes you can't always figure it out where you're going to be able to do something to the wall itself where it's going to be recognizable. So Abaya says when there's a hutzah, when there's a wall like this, you have to just have a contract and hold on to it. But if they both made the wall, then you put two chazis up. You put one on each side, right? Because really, you couldn't enforce the wall on the other person to build it together with you because we're dealing with the valley where people don't make walls. So one person wants to put up a wall. He says, goes on to hey, put up the wall. But I'm not getting involved. That's your wall. You put up the wall. So
that's actually the only case. Because you said all the other
Otherwise,
cases,
yeah,
he's not obligated, so
right.
who cares?
Right. But over here, let's say they both were going to build a wall. So then they both had to put up a plaster. Amalei Ravim Fazikla
I
Ravashi.
take back what I said, because even though the other one, in all other cases, is not obligated, it comes later that they sell, he'll say, excuse me, but that wall was mine, if the guy wanted to lie.
Normally, both people put up the wall equally. Now, in the valley, it's not. It's you can't enforce the other person to put up the wall. So
Right,
what
so
you would do
let's-
is one person would put it up, and he would make a sign which one it
Right.
was.
And then.
But if they both put up the wall, then they need two signs. One on each side to say that they did it together. The Gemara asks, "Amalei Ravim Perzikla Ravashi LaYasu Leil Lezev Leil Lezev." Why do you need two signs? Just don't do any sign, and that's just like two signs,
Yeah.
right? That would be the logical way of doing this. So it says like the Kadam Chad Min Ayavavadi Day, talking about where one of them put up the sign already. He put up this the marking to show that it's his. If his friend doesn't hurry and do his side, then so the guy if he doesn't do it, then the friend is going to say it's all mine. So the Gemara says, the Tana is telling me how to deal with robbers. Is that what we're doing here? That this guy's like an outright cheat, where he quickly put up a chazis, and now it's telling me that, like I thought we were talking about how you set things up originally, not how to deal with robbers. No, the contract was a biased opinion when it comes to a wicker wall. Now we're going back to a regular wall. Yeah. So Amalei, so he responds to him. This is Ravashi, or probably Rava to Ravashi. No, this is Amalei Leitzricha. Ravashi says to Rav Perzika, this is Rav Perzika saying back to Ravashi, right? Yeah, this is Rava back to Ravashi. So now this is Ravashi to Rava. Ravashi is now saying to Rava, what about in the beginning, the whole Mishnah? The whole Mishnah that we're saying how to do this was all about, what did we say? The Mishnah says that you put up if one person builds it, you put up a sign on one side. Isn't that for in case someone's going to cheat? The Reisha had a law. The law was that you can't enforce the other person to build a wall. So how do you resolve it if one of you is going to do it? So it says the solution that you put up a sign.
Which side?
On the outside. It says on the outside.
No trespassing, this is my wall.
No, not a sign. A marker that says who was the owner of this wall, which means that you put the marker on the outside.
Even though the other guy can still take it down.
No, but we said that he can't take it down because it's recognizable if you scratch it off.
Oh, okay, the last thing.
Yeah.
With the mud.
So, however, in this case where we're talking about not where one person is going to build a wall, we're talking about where they're both building the wall. So, Ela Seifa, Dina Ktani, the Ktani Takanta, are you telling me a halacha that here you have two people agreeing to build a wall? There's no halacha here. And all it's doing is telling me how to deal with robbers. Because one guy decided to put up the thing, and that's okay, so therefore the other guy has to put it up. Well, Amar Ravina says, Hachi behutzi askinan lafuki midabaya da mahutzi less like the kantal b'shtara kamash mlan de b'chazesagi. Says no, we have a chiddush here. The chiddush of a Mishnah is to exclude what Abaya just said. Abaya said, like 2 minutes ago, Abaya said that that on a wicker type wall, on the palm branch wall, you can't put up any sign. You need to hold the document. So comes along our Gemara and says, no, you can put up signs even on a wicker wall, and you can put up two signs as well. Yeah. Okay, the Mishnah says like this: Hamakives chaveri mishal shuchaysav. Begader seishen v'seshne v'seshlisha sein machai v'naisei. Reb Yossi Eimer Amad begader servius megalgal lam sakal. Yeah. It's 6 o'clock now?
Yeah.
5 to 6.
Yeah. Because then I'll start
You'll do the Mishnah tomorrow?
the Mishnah right now.
Oh, you did you prepared the Mishnah? Okay, good.
I read this previously.
Okay.
I mean, it might not be.
Okay.
prepared.
Dr. Stein is gonna take me over. I'm gonna run to
Gemara
the.
like disappeared the moment I went on with it.
Okay, we're talking about over here a case where I have Ruvain and Shimon. Shimon is it has a field in the center,
Come on.
and Ruvain is surrounding him with 4 fields around him. So Ruvain puts up a wall with. Okay.
All right. Take your phone. You want to set up? Hang in there. We're switching phones. All right. Will you? All right.
Are you on?
Hold on.
And then Dr. Stein will teach tomorrow as well.
Attempt.
Get ready for the props and 8-second Daf.
We'll be back Wednesday.
I'll be back Tuesday afternoon. Basra's at school. Just when you finish the meeting, you're going to be in charge. You're the host when you finish. Push end meeting. Don't just leave, because that way it'll.
You're leaving right now?
He's going to drive me.
Remind me. Press end when we're done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff,
Are you on?
remind me when it's ends. Okay, join. Okay, let's see. Oh, I see you, Rabbi.
Progress.
Okay.
Progress.
Okay, one moment. Did I lose everybody?
Yeah.
Do I still have people in there?
We're
Oh,
here,
yeah.
Benny. You're looking great, sweetheart.
Hold on, we're just trying to connect the phone here.
I need 10 minutes.
Was it this
Well,
phone?
it's about the volume.
Hold on, technical difficulties for a moment. This is not my fault. I didn't do anything yet.
Bring on the action.
Okay, pull it closer. This is too far away. Okay, Naftali, we're good? Everyone can hear me. Okay, will you give me a pencil? Can't write a pencil on the computer, all right? Okay, Mishnah, Makif, right? Right.
Yeah.
Makif Eschavero Mishalosh Ruchoso. All right. So there's 2 guys and they own fields. All right. One owns a field in the middle of the other guy's field. All right. And we've had similar stories before where someone owns a field in the middle of like large acreage and he's got to be allowed access to the field, etc. So now, like we know this concept of makif from Hasidus, surrounding. But on a lesser level here, Gashmia's makif here means that the owner on the outside wants to build a fence. He's really building it, who knows, for his own intent, all right, to protect his property, which that from the inside. Or maybe he's just, I don't need these pencils, all right? Or he's protecting it from maybe the inside guy, that he shouldn't come over to his field, whatever it is. So you see my hands here? Just imagine, here's the field in front of me. Guess what? See that? That's the 3 fields, side 1, side 2, and side 3. And my head is the field, okay? So he builds 3 fields, all right? 3 walls around him. The goddess Harishana Besashliya Besashlishis. All right. And he literally fences them in. All right. So he builds these fences. All right. So now he's enclosed on 3 sides. Okay. Also, we do not obligate the owner of the inner field to help defray the cost of the fences. All right. You might say, hey, this guy got 3 free fences. All right. We should require him to pay 50% of the cost of the fences. Or say, no. So the Mishnah says, we're not mechayev him. All right. Now, what if Now watch carefully. Remember this third field? What if he all of a sudden does this? All right. He puts in, okay, oh, that's great. All right. So here, see that? University of Miami? That's the U. That's the 3. But what all of a sudden, if he goes, that was funny. He goes from that and he makes from 3 a 4th wall. All right. All right. So he says, Rabbi Yosef, wait. This now so now so Rabbi Yossi Amir Imamad Bagades Revius. So Rabbi Yossi says if he goes, and now I assume we're still talking about the Makif, the owner on the external part, adds the 4th field. Obviously, he has a little gate, 4th wall. He has a little gate to it because the guy still has to have access in and out of his field. Megal Gilin Alav Awakol. Whoa, listen to this. We devolve. I don't know what devolve means in English. What's devolve?
Opposite of evolve.
Opposite of evolve?
I guess.
No. Someone,
more
what does devolve mean? Well, we devolve upon him the obligation to share in the expense of all of the partitions. Where it explains that this clause refers to export by enclosing the open 4th side, the owner of the inner field indicates he approves of the construction of the, it means, guess what? Up until now, he didn't owe even 50% of the other 3 walls. The moment the 4th wall goes up, if the owner of the inner wall, the definition of devolve is transfer, delegate to a lower level, I don't know, forget that. All right. It means that if he accepts this 4th wall, it means that he's acknowledging, hey, I like the fact that you put all these walls around here. All right. I feel very well protected in my property. So guess what? We now say, you know what? You accepted the 4th wall. That means you accepted all 4 walls. Now, previously, you didn't owe even 50% of the 3 walls. Now you owe 50% of all 4 walls. So be careful what you say if you're going to accept something. All right. Now, I'm Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Halacha to Rabbi Yossi. And he says that this is the halacha, like Rabbi Yossi just said. Im amad v'gada es haravias magagan lav es hakol. If he rose and fenced the 4th side, we devolve upon him the obligation to share the expense of all the partitions. Now, what's interesting, we're using a pronoun here. Nowadays pronouns are very important. All right. Yeah, even on a medical form, you have to say what pronoun you want to use. All right. So it says if he added the 4th field, it never told us who he is. All right. Why is it that if the makif, all right, adds the 4th field, the 4th wall, that all of a sudden the guys are obliged, obligated, whatever the word is, to pay 50% of all the walls? Would make more sense if the guy who's on the inside, the nukif or whatever the word would be for the inside guy, he's the one who added the 4th field. He's saying, hey, I got 3 wall, excuse me. Keep on saying fields, but I mean walls. So if the inside man adds the 4th owner, adds the 4th wall, so he's saying, I'm taking advantage of all the other 3 walls. I'm making myself a walled lot. Well, in that case, he should have to pay for at least 50% of all. That makes more sense, but I don't know if we got to that yet, or I'm just thinking about that. Okay, okay. So here it is. So he says, next thing, Loshana Amad Nikaf, Loshana Amad Makif. It makes no difference whether the surrounded one, the owner of the inner field, rose to fence the 4th side, or whether the surrounding one, the owner of the outer fields, rose to fence it. Either way, Rabbi Yossi maintains that the owner of the inner field must pay his share of the cost of all the walls once he derives benefit from them. So that appears to be the chiddush of Rabbi Yossi. All right, that it really doesn't make a difference who, because logic would have dictated maybe the inside guy, if he built the wall, would pay 50%. But now we're saying no. Everyone has to pay 50%. So Yosef, so like somebody goes and asks you, to build a fence for him or something, and now this halacha, and the guy, let's say, you know what? I'll do this for you, but code says that if I put up this fence, you might end up paying for, your share of all the fences. So just should be aware of
we're
that.
trying to see if the other person is benefited from the wall or not. Like he
Yeah.
desires
So
to have it
no.
done.
So we're saying the inside man originally had no obligation to pay his share of the 3 walls. This thing, the University of Miami. But if the 4th wall was added, Rabbi Yossi says, even though logic would say if the inside man does it, he should now have an obligation. Rabbi Yossi says, no, either one who does it, once that's done, now they each share 50% of the walls. Very interesting. Okay. Itamar, it was stated. Hold on a second. So yeah, Itamar always means it's a statement. Okay. Rav Huna Amar Hakol Lefi Mashagadon. So now Rav Huna disagrees with Rabbi Yossi. He says he must pay his share for all the expenses. Oh no, he's not necessarily disagreeing. He's just giving another insight. He says he must pay for all the expenses according to what his neighbor actually spent to erect the fences. So when we say that he has to pay 50%, let's say the neighbor whichever one, he erected 8-foot fences. Code says you do a 6-foot fence. In the old days, we had picket fences. They were, 2 feet. Then people start on 4-foot fences. Keep the dogs from jumping over. Code typically. Now I've seen fences that are 8, 10, 12 feet tall. I don't know. Code seems to be changing. All right. Whatever it is, Rav Huna says that he has to pay actually to what was spent. Again, when we say he has to pay his share. Thus, even if the neighbor used expensive materials, now we're even going into materials. Remember, you could build a chain link fence, you could build a wooden fence, you could build CBS block fence, you could build fancy with what do they do now? Aluminum fences that go horizontal. I mean, they're fences you could do ornate wrought iron. I mean, there's no limit to how much people. I guess there is a limit, but whatever, you can spend a lot of money on a fence. Thus, even if the neighbor used expensive materials, the owner of the field must pay half of the actual expenses. Boy, Rav Huna really makes it expensive. Chia Barav. Here's another Rav that's saying something. Amar Kol Lefi Demei Konim. Chia Barav says he pays all his share. The fences commensurate with the cost of reeds bought cheaply. Whoa! So in those days, the cheapest fence, equivalent to what we'll call the chain link fence, was the reed fence we were just talking about. They put up some poles, and they the people who go and take the bamboo and they go and they make hats out of it. They would go and make it's almost like a tiki hut sideways. They would make, the bamboo going this way on the wall. That was the cheapest thing. That was the chain link equivalent. So according to Rav Chia, he says he only has to pay 50% of that, even if the guy put up a wrought iron ornate fence with lights and all these other things. The Gemara questions Rav Chia's interpretation of Rav Yossi's opinion. All right, obviously there seems to be this this isn't exactly the same thing, So let's see what the Gemara questions. Tzana makifes chaveru b'shalosh ruchosav the goddess harishon v'esashliya v'esashlisha ein mechayim v'so. Right? This is a recap. We learned in our Mishnah, if one surrounds his neighbor on 3 sides, and the other neighbor fenced the first, second, and third sides, we don't obligate the owner of the inner field to share the expenses of the fences. That's what we've been saying till now, right? Which was what the Mishnah said. Haravias, again, that's the University of Miami side. Haravias, thank you, Hillel, for bringing that picture. But if the outer neighbor fenced the 4th side as well, so he went from this to this, all modify from this to this, okay, so we would obligate the inner neighbor to contribute his share. And this is what we just learned. The Gemara continues to develop the question, Ema Sefer, now state the latter part of the Mishnah, which says, Rabbi Yossi Omer, Imamad Bagadas Rivitz Magagal and Lavas Akol. Rabbi Yossi said, this is a total repeat of what we just learned. If he, and it didn't define at this moment, but one of the two, the mucky for the Nika, for whatever he's called, the inside man, fenced the fourth side, that he's obligated to share in the expense of all the partitions. Am I in the right place? I'm not repeating what I read. Am I? This is continuing. Yes? Okay, because sometimes this the computer, like, moves, and then they're bringing the same thing. Apparently, the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi both maintain that when the inner field is completely enclosed, its owner becomes obligated to pay his share in all four fences. So on what issue, then, do they disagree? There is no difficulty, according to Rav Huna, who said that according to Rabbi Yossi, the owner of the inner field must pay his share for all the expenses according to what his neighbor actually spent to enclose the inner field. Okay, and that's a big problem. Again, 50% of that share. What if the guy did 6 feet, 8 feet, 1/8 fence? I know the Ika Bain Tana Kama Rabbi Yossi. So what's the difference at this point? At this very point is that issue between Tanakh and Rabbi Yossi. Tanakama Saba Kolafi Demei Kanim Bezul. The Tanakama held that he's liable with the cost of the cheapest fence, chain link. Here it's the reed fence. Umasha Gada low, but not half the cost of what the outer field's owner actually erected, meaning, again, the expense of the fancy one. Rabbi Yossi Sava, and Rabbi Yossi says, Hakolafi Mashagada. And Rabbi Yossi says, he has to pay exactly half of all the fences. That's just a repeat of what we just said. Ella Lechia Barav, however, according to Rav Chia Barav, Dama Hakolafi Dmei Kanim Bezo, who said everything is only based on the cost of the cheapest materials. Ma'ika bein Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. What's the difference between Tanakam and Rabbi Yossi? Idmei kanim b'zo lo kaisei lei. If according to the Tanakama, the inner fields owner doesn't give more than half the cost of the cheapest fields, then what does he give him? Hold on a second. Let me see what this guy previously further Tanakama also requires the inner to extrude its fourth partition. Further, since Rabbi Yossi stated, we devolve upon him all instead of merely knowing liability. Gemara assumes that he prescribes a large contribution imposed by the. Again, we're trying to figure out whether there was what is the additional upshot or. What else is being brought here that we didn't learn in the Mishnah? It would seem that according to Chiya's interpretation of Yossi, it is impossible to understand the dispute in the Mishnah. The Gemara advances the first of 4 alternative ways of understanding the dispute from Rav Yossi and the Tanakama according to Rav Chia. Okay, so we're going to give 4 ways to explain what is really the difference between Rav Chia and not Rav Chia, between Rav Yossi and the Tanakama. If you prefer to say that the high of a watchman is an issue between them, okay, so one might say, hey, you know what? The guy on the inside, he could say, I never asked for the fourth wall. If I wanted to watch, still protect my property because it has, I just hire your security guard. The cost of an hourly security guard is going to be cheaper, or going to put up cameras, whatever it is, motion cameras, than paying for half your wall. All right. So the Kama held that the owner of the inner field is indeed liable for the amount equal to high of a watchman. So we could say the Kama says that's the minimum he would have to pay for a watchman to make Kanim Bezolo, but not for half of the greater cost of the fence. Reeds bought cheaply. Up until now, we had said Tanakam was talking about the minimum cost was that of the cheapest field, the chain link fence, or in those days, the reed made fence, all right, which is a sideways tiki hut roof, whatever. But not for half the greater cost of a fence of reeds more cheaply, since he can claim they would have employed a watchman rather than build a fence. Rab Yossi saw it may kind of dissolve. All right, but Rab Yossi's disagreeing and saying no, he would have at least had to pay 50% of the cheapest fence. So that's number one out of four, explaining the difference between the Tanakama of the Mishnah and Rab Yossi. The first is saying, how do they disagree? Tanakama says the cheapest he could have paid was pay for the watchman, security cameras, whatever. Rab Yossi says the cheapest is the cheapest fence, half of that. All right. So they're both agreeing that it doesn't have to pay 50% of this expensive fence. All right. But I'm still okay with time. All right. All right. B by same now, second opinion. B by same Rishana, Shlio, Shlishis, Ikabinel. Or if you prefer to say that the expense of the first, second, and third fences is the point of contention between them. However, all agree that the payment is based on the cost of a fence constructed reeds bought cheaply. Tanakama Saba reviews who the Aile. The Kama held that it is his share of the fourth fence that the inner field's owner must give his neighbor. Of Arishana, Shnia Shlisis Lo Yei, but he doesn't give him half the cost of the second and third fences until the fourth fence was built that afforded him no benefit and has already been exempted by the court from paying them. Therefore, his liability is limited to his share of the fourth fence. Rabbi Yossi Saba Rishana Shnia Shlisis Nami Yavle. Rabbi Yossi held that he must give half the cost for second and third fences based on the cost of the fence of the reeds bought cheaply, since he benefits from them now. Okay, so the second answer of the difference is that the Tanakama is still saying, you know what, he does owe half for the half of the value based on the cheapest fence, chain link fence. Now we're talking about the fourth wall only, because the Tanakama originally said he doesn't have to pay for the three walls. That was the freebie, all right? Rav Yossi says, you know what? Now that you've accepted the fourth wall, you're basically saying, I'm accepting this entire protection. You know, the mafia wall made by my neighbor. He's giving me protection to my field. So Rav Yossi would then say, if I'm understanding this correctly, that he has to pay for at least 50% of that, all right, to the minimum cost of fields, which is the chain link fence or that. All right, my Gemara just jumped. What's the where are we up to? Give me the next word in the Gemara. Ibayasema Agar. Where? Okay. Someone read me the next four lines. The Gemara just jumped on me, so I lost it.
Ibayasema Makir.
Ibayasema. Yeah, okay, but I got now find it essence. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. Ibayas. Can you give me a landmark in the Gemara, a tiny little letter next to some toast for something? I don't have my glasses either. Once I lose it, I've lost it a long time ago, but once I lose it in the Gemara, it's, Daniel, give me a landmark in the Gemara if you can. Somebody. Who's that next to you? Is that your son?
No, it's Amram, a friend of mine.
Oh, hi, Amram. He looks a little like you. He looks like a younger version. That's funny. He looks like when you had all that hair in college, you know. Right. Somebody just what this? We're up to the third case. I know that's what we're on. I'm sorry. Bear with me a moment. This is the one problem with this Gemara. Oh, it jumped too far. Makif and Nikaf Ikabineho? Is that or not that? That's the last one.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, another version. So this is the third one. Makif and Nika Ikabineho. So Nikaf is the inside man. The dispute between them is whether it matters if the surrounding one or the surrounded one built the fence. Right? This was our original thought, you know. Sabra in Gadol Makif Esarius. The Tanakama held that if the surrounding neighbor fenced the foresight, Namavia the surrounding neighbor also gives him money for all the fences, since in fact he benefits from them. So in that case, we're saying that that's different, that the Tanakama actually owes 50% of all four things. Rabbi Yossi Sava, Imam Nika for Gades Haravias. Rabbi Yossi held that if the surrounded neighbor rose and fenced the fourth side, the Yaivle, only then must he give the surrounding neighbor payment for the other four fences. The Gale, the Ate, the Nichale. For in building the fourth fence, he evinced his satisfaction with the construction of in Gadar Makif. But if the surrounding neighbor fence the fourth side, the surrounding neighbor need not give him anything, so it's not indicated its approval of their construction. All right, we mentioned this before. So was that the third or was that the fourth view? I don't know. It looks like we're up to 5A. Let's just start 5A. I don't know. Let's just keep on going. Next. All right. Okay. Okay, Runya. If I left out anything or messed up anything, that's why God created Chazorah. And if we really messed it up, that's why Hashem created Yom Kippur. Okay. Runya Apfei Ravina Miaba Uchosef. Ravina surrounded Runya's field on all four sides. All right, we're going to end with this. Amalei Havli Kama de Gadri, attempting to recoup up half of the cost of the fences. So again, Ravina's on the outside. You know what? It's 5 minutes till we daven. We'll start here tomorrow. We'll do Daf Hey tomorrow, and hopefully you understood what I finished today. Bye. All right, I have to end. See you guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And